VHS, the 4-hour system from Panasonic and other leading companies.
Are you wondering how to start a VHS collection in 2024? Let me help you out. VHS is an analog consumer-grade video recording cassette format introduced in 1976 by JVC. It remained the dominant format for tape media throughout the 1990s. In this video, I'm going to talk about reasons why you would want to collect VHS, where to buy them, and how to get them efficiently and cheap, as well as some common myths surrounding tape prices, and even a little bit about VCRs and CRTs. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the Ectoviolence channel. My name is Alec, and today we're talking about how to start a VHS collection in 2024. As you can see, I have a lot of tapes. I do a YouTube channel here, and I cover and review a lot of movies on VHS when I review them. Talk about the commercials and everything. I scan in the tapes as I'm watching them, use those clips in the videos to illustrate my points. VHS is a format that not everyone is nostalgic about, but I would say that is the #1 reason you're going to collect VHS. A lot of people who collect tapes are in their late 20s now, 30s, and 40s for sure. Although I have seen a lot of younger kids and, teenagers collecting tapes these days. That's interesting, that's fun. Welcome aboard. Maybe they're just movie people and they're interested and they see all these other people with their VHS posts, and it's like, how we grew up in the 90s and we thought the 70s was so cool. And the first thing we're talking about is where to buy VHS tapes. Well, there's a lot of different places. First one we're going to talk about, thrift stores. I would say 80%, 90% of my collection came from thrift stores. Now, some of that is just getting lucky and actually finding horror tapes out in the wild, which is, I will say, a rare occurrence to do at like a Goodwill, antique malls. Also, you might find lower prices on tapes, but a lot of times it really depends on who's selling it. A lot of people like to overprice tapes because they don't really know what they're worth. But at the thrift stores, you can generally get them for $1 or $2 a piece. So again, I'd say 90% of my collection came from thrift stores, and I paid about $1 for each tape probably. I mentioned antique stores and just vintage stores in general. There's local chains. When I was in Arizona, there was one called Zia Records, but they sold records, CDs, DVDs, and I got a couple cool tapes in there. I bought Day of the Dead in there, Taxi Driver. I paid like $2 a piece for those. Now, if they had something that was super rare, they would know, and they would price it a little higher, but like for the most part, you can get some tapes pretty cheap in places like that as well. I personally haven't taken advantage of estate sales yet, but I hear from other people and I see from other people that's where they find a ton of tapes. It also seems like this is where everyone finds their CEDs, players, and Laserdisc players. That's for a whole nother video. eBay. Now, eBay is reliable if you know what you're doing. I still occasionally buy tapes off of eBay. If you can find a cheap enough tape, usually I would say tapes are going for $5 or $10 more than they're worth on eBay, as a general rule. Also, one of my favorite places to get tapes, Instagram sellers. Again, this is why I say you can get it cheaper, maybe $5 or $10 than eBay. At least if it's a more expensive tape for sure. I've even sold a few tapes on Instagram. Usually they're pretty reliable people and you have to kind of trust them when you send them money. Some of them will make you send their money, friends and family, so they can get it right away so they can pay for the shipping. And every time I've done that with them, I've gotten my tapes. But just make sure that there's a lot of other people who are commenting and claiming tapes. Make sure that they've been doing it a little bit, or at least have a following, or vet them a little bit. Facebook Marketplace is another place. That is where you can get lucky, not eBay. People are just getting rid of stuff on Facebook Marketplace. So if you're looking for VCRs or even CRTs, look up old TV. Don't look up CRT, because if someone knows to call it a CRT, chances are they're going to be charging more. That's generally how it works. And if you look up VHS, you'll find various things of people who are generally trying to sell at eBay prices, but also people who are just selling huge lots of tapes, small lots of tapes, and those are helpful if you're just starting out. Generally, a lot of those tapes are kind of pretty common tapes, and they might have a few gems in there, but it really depends on what you're collecting too. I collect a little bit of everything, including super weird tapes like Satanic Panic tapes, even a few XXX tapes. But VHS has had a huge comeback the last 2 years. Like, it's been back, I'd say, since at least 2015, 16, 17. I started seeing other people collecting VHS. I had a very small VHS collection going from like 2015 forward. Even before that, I kept my Ghostbusters and Star Wars tapes that I had gotten from early on. So let's talk about some common myths. First one, the Black Diamond Disney tapes. Unless they mean something to you, they're not worth buying. Unless you really want to buy a tape for $1, sell it for $7 on eBay, and make a living doing that. Personally, that's, once you had shipping and stuff in there, all that's gonna be not quite worth it. But don't get me wrong, there's a few tapes out there that are worth a little bit, but generally Black Diamond Disney tapes are worth $5 or less. If you're lucky, you can get one that's worth 10. But really, the demand for VHS is going up now, so again, even just like the cheapest tapes on eBay are going to be $5 or $10 to get shipped to you now. But there are people putting out new tapes in 2024 as well. Terrifier 2 saw a VHS release, Walmart exclusive. Late Night with the Devil just had a release on glow-in-the-dark VHS. And Alien Romulus is having another Walmart release. You can also find a lot of boutique or bootleg VHS makers on Instagram. There's a lot out there that start just as boutique and bootleggers that worked their way up to making deals with movie production studios and putting out tapes for them, getting distribution deals for new movies. And as far as VCRs and CRTs, again, thrift stores is your best bet. I can find a VCR probably in around here with all the thrift stores that I know there are. I could probably find a VCR by the end of the day for sure. Maybe 2 or 3. I have about 10, give or take, in my collection right now, so I've done a previous video on just my VCR collection before. I also collect CRTs, vintage technology, and formats in general, so it's kind of a pain, but I wanted to talk about just some of this VHS stuff with you guys today because I've been doing it for a while now, and this is just my opinions of the best ways to collect, the easiest ways, the most efficient ways, the cheapest ways. If you thought this was helpful, leave a comment below and let me know, and if you like this video, be sure to check out this one and hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.